Welcome back at this next session of the Ultimo conference. I'm very happy and proud to announce the next speaker, which is Vallérie le Gallou. Yes. And she's team lead maintenance management of one of our honored customers, Hoogheemraadschap van Rijnland. It's a water authority, and she's going to explain what that is for the international listeners. Vallérie, it's up to you.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. I want to start by introducing myself. I'm Vallérie le Gallou. I come from France. I've moved to the Netherlands in 2005. I have an engineering background in wastewater and drinking water treatment and transportation. I've been working in France for 10 years before moving to the Netherlands when I started to work for Rijnland. And then for some of you, you can wonder, what is Rijnland? What is waterschap? Rijnland is one of the 21 water authorities in the Netherlands. Our mission is to keep dry feet and clean water in our area for 1.3 million people. So it's quite important. We are located in the west of the Netherlands, in an area which is quite dynamic, with strategic economical activities like the airport of Schiphol, but also the flower industry. And what is our core business? Well, in one word, water. But we have four main tasks. The first one is the protection against flooding, because our area is situated under the sea level. So therefore, we have dunes, but also a narrow network of dikes that we also have to maintain. The second and third task are water quantity and water quality. All the water that comes into our area has to be pumped into the sea. So that's why we have four huge bosom pumping stations. This one is in Katwijk, but we also have a little less than 400 smaller pumping stations in all sizes in between to transport the water for our 13,000 kilometers of canals. And last but not least, we are also responsible for wastewater sanitation through 19 big wastewater treatment plants and the transport system that is connected to them. And as you will recognize, we are working in an environment where compliance pressure and complexity keep improving. If it's about sustainability and all the subjects which are connected to this one, but also the fact that all our installations are remotely controlled, and this brings complexity, IT questions, and these kind of things. But then, as it comes to asset management, where do we come from? With a little bit of humor, you will recognize the well-known silos within an organization. At Rijnland, we can rely on really competent and involved staff with a strong technical background, but they would all speak a different language. And I'm not talking about French, Dutch, English, but different technical languages. And that means that they wouldn't understand each other. And therefore, they would tend to protect their own backyard. But the theme of today is the power of teamwork, and I think it's really appropriate if you want to talk about asset management. Asset management is the backbone of our organization. We want to take decisions based on facts and not anymore on opinions, and within the triangle performance, costs, and risks. And therefore, our asset management group, asset owner, asset manager can rely on three different service providers, maintenance, capital projects, but also the users, the operations, and they have to talk to each other, they have to trust each other, and exchange reliable information. And this means a shift from an organization-based way of thinking, teams having their own field, to an asset-minded approach, and in order to align the performances of our assets with our corporate goals. And that brought us to, should we become a data-driven organization? And when we started to gather data, then we also started to develop small local dashboards, mostly in Excel. And this was a lot of work to share them, to keep them up to date. And at some point, it felt like a tsunami, actually, that we had to tame because there were too much data. And at that point, we show the importance of information. And what does this mean? That we need dashboards which are intelligent, which contain relevant information for our decision making. And this places information at the center, actually, of our organization between the business, the technique, and the ICT support. And what does this mean for our EAM landscape? Well, actually, we also need a very strong backbone. We have a great area, so we need to know what we have and where it is. Therefore, we have a geographic system. But then we have to monitor our asset performance. Therefore, we have two SCADA systems for different sorts of assets, WanderWare and Bosbo. And eventually, we need one system where we can find detailed information about our assets and what happens to them, and a system that supports our processes and supports our workflow. And we already work with Ultimo for quite a long time. And what started as a maintenance management system becomes more and more an EAM system. And actually, we have a lot of other applications around them, but they are less relevant from an asset point of view. And as I said, so information is a key success factor to communicate with each other. And that's why it has an important place in our journey from data to decision making. And if we start from all the data that we have in different systems, then we have to translate this to information. And therefore, we started 2 years ago to use Power BI, but also Python for machine learning in order to build intelligent dashboards. And to facilitate this whole process, well, actually, we need that the data is easily accessible. So we are building a data platform, and we migrate our applications to the cloud. And now I would like to go to the results we're working on or have already achieved. What is very important for us is to keep our asset portfolio under control. We are in a very dynamic area, so it changes every day. So we have implemented 3 modules out of Ultimo: the long-term asset planning. We can also follow the capital project into Ultimo, so we know when something is delivered. And Ultimo also supports our management of change procedure. And this means that we have a clear path to follow when we have to take a decision. We can involve and bring them around the table, all the relevant stakeholders, and this improves our traceability. Another thing which is interesting is the fact that we already use Ultimo for a long time to support our maintenance processes. So the classical installation breakdown, the workflow, the costs, but also safety, which is very important to us. But what we see is, this is a blurb, is that more and more departments within the organization are interested to use Ultimo, because we can share information with each other and we get more information about our assets. And eventually, something we are really, really proud of is the fact that thanks to Power BI and Python, we have developed a dashboard, an asset health indicator. What you can see here is a global overview of all our pumping stations, 400 pumping stations. So you can see the complete portfolio. It's based on 4 different pillars that you can see on the right side. So the first one is the technical conditions. So it's a combination of alarms out of the SCADA systems and the failures or downtime out of Ultimo. Then we have the life cycle. So it's a translation of the long-term asset planning. We are looking at compliance, and at the moment, mostly electrical compliance, and eventually performance in terms of downtime. What's nice with this dashboard is that we use all the 3 different softwares you could see in our backbone triangle. We can also navigate into the dashboard through our geographic system, so you can click on one and each other of the pumping station, and you can get all the detailed information we have about them. And eventually, all the 4 pillars have their own sub-dashboards. So you can see, for example, here for the life cycle, you can see how all the different assets are and also the different parts of the pumping station. So we have a nice team which is dedicated to this dashboard, and I'm very proud of them. But are we there? Are we finished? Well, not at all. Actually, we have already climbed a few steps of this ladder. So from data to information, from information to knowledge. And what we would like to reach is wisdom. And what do we mean by wisdom? Is actually that we improve our understanding of how goes our decision-making process. How do you register and manage our risks, and eventually to improve even more our traceability. So this was our journey, and I would like to share 5 lessons learned with you. First of all, we've learned that we should have an asset-centered way of thinking. There's not anymore in teams, in departments, but really the assets are a common ground. Out of the EIM system and the technology, we should reduce the complexity of our assets through standardization. This is a big problem at our place because we have so many different things. We want to reduce the complexity. Use the software for what they've been designed for, but also to the maximum of their capacity. Not too many softwares. Look first for information, and the right data will follow. And eventually use software that support your processes, not only put the results of your processes in a software, but use a software to support your processes and make them transparent and traceable. And never forget, ICT information, processes are important, but it's eventually the people who take decisions on the field, in the field, executive management, and that's very important. And that was it. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Vallérie. A very, very inspiring case story about developing from maintenance to asset management. And, well, a lot of wisdom for me. Let's see if there are any questions coming in or if there are any questions in the audience here.
We do definitely have some questions coming in. So unless we have a question from the audience, why don't we start with a question on your transition? Do you want to ask the question, Ewout? Should I?
No, it's good. It's good. So I heard that you recently migrated from on-premise to the Azure cloud with Ultimo, or in the process. Is there a specific reason for that?
Yes, actually, it reduces the time we spend on releases and changes within the software. We can work with more people at the same time, and the data is more accessible. It's easier, actually. Yeah, it makes it easier.
Makes life easier. Okay.
Exactly.
A step closer to wisdom again.
Yeah.
Okay. Berend, other questions?
Yeah, I personally was also very inspired by the journey that you shared, reaching that maturity level. Now, obviously, certain decisions were made. One decision that you made is to invest more heavily on the BI side. And I can imagine that you're spending time, you're investing all this time. Can you talk about the benefits? How much time do you actually gain, or what is the actual gain from having all that information in a centralized dashboard as opposed to very static and outlined?
Well, actually, the dashboard that we now have, we developed it with maybe 3 people. So it's not such a big investment. Where we stand now is actually we would like to go to production. And this is a little bit the point when you think, okay, how do we do? Are we going to take this next step? And that's where we stay. Where we stand. So we'll see.
Okay, wonderful.
Looking at the audience, anybody who would like to ask a question? They're all flabbergasted, I think. Okay, I think this is a good moment to thank Vallérie once again. And we'll be back within 5.5 minutes with a new and next great customer case. Thank you. See you soon.